Welcome back. This is the next part in the series, I think part 5, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm just going to continue on. I don't have, these grand plans per part, but we're building a Rails dev community that is a job board and also community. And I basically got our template kind of configured in the last few parts. Nothing great to look at, but we do have a resource for the jobs, and I want to continue on in that path. Creating a new job in Rails is a server-side rendered process, so Rails is a server-side. With that in mind, I think I'm going to leverage Vue.js for just the new form or new job form. And the reason for that is just some interactivity going on, and I want to make it a multi-step process. So when you're creating a job, you can kind of preview what it will look like when it's posted, and then also just kind of check out. So it's almost like a shopping cart experience, all within one little view of the Rails app. So we'll use things like Stripe, Vue.js. I'll actually reach for Stimulus.js to kind of mount the Vue app in a more reusable way. And I think that's about it for the initial job section. Of course, we need to list jobs and all that. It's going to be taken into account. That's all going to be Rails based stuff. So we're just going to use part of this app as a Vue app, and the rest will be pretty much Rails. I do have the concept of jobs. I'm thinking about adding categories, and I think that might be a wise decision. I'm not sure what the categories might be. Maybe Ruby, Rails. We can make some up that it's just like more JavaScript based jobs or something like that. I might hold off on that for now and just kind of focus on the job creation process. But I think what I'll do first is get like Stimulus installed and maybe Vue installed as well. That's a lot of dependencies, sadly, but it's just kind of the way I think I want to go with it. So we'll see what happens. To remember what I need to install, I'm going to go to the Webpacker repo. And we're first going to install Stimulus. I think I might have it installed, but if not, I'm going to run this anyway, and we'll get it installed. So we'll go into I'm in my Rails app. I'm going to do part 5. So get checkout, new branch. We'll just say part 5. And we'll switch to that. So now we're on the latest branch. Master will always be like the main source of truth, but leverage each branch as each video. So we'll run bundle exec Rails Webpacker install Stimulus. Quite a mouthful. And while I'm here, I'm going to do Vue, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to use it. So I'll go get that set up wherever it may be. I'll just run through their configuration too. So I'll install this. Cool. And on the README, it has this unsafe eval rule for development environment. So we can just kind of add this to it would be a cores.rb or content security policy. I don't think that exists, so we could go check that out if it does or not. Initializers. Nope. So we can, oh, it is there. Okay. So we can actually just, it's commented here, but I'm going to paste in their version and just save it. And we need to restart the server. I think it's running. Yeah. Just to make sure. I had it running before I kicked this video off. And I think that's about it. There's plenty of things to be known about Vue.js. I'm not an expert on it, but I feel like I can get my hands dirty with it. But you'll find out more about that probably coming up. So we'll see. Since it's entirely in Vue, the job creation part, and it's a multi-step process, it's going to get a little hairy, I think, but I think we can make do. We're just building a fancy form in the end. So we've installed those dependencies. I'm going to just say get, oh shit, get commit, add Vue and Stimulus. There we go. And let's restart or refresh the app. With that installed, I think I'll start maybe considering some design just to get a feel for how this could look. Like I said, I'm flying by the seat of my pants here. So I've got my original blog post for the first part of this series has these wireframes in them. And I might just like spec out this stuff in basic HTML and kind of go from there just to get the feel for it. So this will be the homepage, and the homepage in this view is pretty custom. It's not like a regular resource page, so maybe we'll actually make a home controller or something like that. So I'll go back to our controllers. We have a home controller from my template, so that's good. We have an index, and I think that should be all I need. What we can do is just kind of get the scope of jobs at the moment, so just jobs.all for now. Maybe we'll add a scoping that's published. Let's check our schema, db schema. I have it annotated too, but if we look at the jobs table, we probably need like some sort of status on this job. So as an admin, I can like edit the status, whether it's like a pending review or a archive job or something, or featured, like we could change all those statuses as an admin. And I think that's something I might modify right now. So we can add the scoping mechanism, and then we can add some constants that are the actual status itself. So with that in mind, I might, we've only done a few migrations. We can actually roll back and change that job migration to have a status column. So I just do this a handful of times. I know you can like throw in an actual timestamp when you do this, but I'm just lazy, so I just wait. So you just keep doing rollback, and it'll keep going back to the one before the last. And I'm just looking for the one that's going to say create jobs. Cool. So once that's done, we can go back into that migration. And we can just add a string column that's going to just be status. And we could say like a default to maybe pending. Like maybe we want to review each job before it's posted. So each job as it's created, we'll set the status to pending. I think that's a wise decision, just to filter out any garbage that comes through if people are abusing it. What else could we use here while we're here? Trying to think. Maybe a published at time. So when we set the status to publish, we can set the time it was published to update the timestamp on the job. Does that make sense? I think that's a good idea. So we'll say date time published at. That should work. And we could have a featured Boolean as well. I think that might be wise. So t.boolean. So if the job's featured, we can actually like scope it in the feed to be like up in the feed. It's kind of a nice to have. So I'm thinking with the job, when you build a new job, you're going to have different tiers, or when you create a new job, before you buy it, you can either have the base job listing, which gets posted on the site, or we can have like upsells that's going to render, three or four, maybe two, I don't know, upsells for the job that adds to the price in the end, but also gives you more features on the job listing. So maybe it's featured, maybe it's just promoted more or something. It stands out in the pack, or stuff like that. So I'm thinking of that in terms of the product and business side of the thing. That could be worthwhile for people to kind of stand apart. So I'm going to just say a default to false on featured. This might be an admin only thing anyway. Or based on what option you set when you're creating a new job and purchase, you're going to get this by default. We probably need a way to kind of turn that off programmatically though. So maybe just like publish that, we'll have d.datetime featured at, or featured until. So we can do like, I'm thinking we could set a timestamp when the job's created that's if you set, okay, say you purchase the higher paced listing, so it's the most expensive listing. Maybe we have that featured flag on that one. When you purchase that, we can set this timestamp to feature like some time in the future, so maybe 30 days or something. I don't know. So when that timestamp's up, we can like maybe run either a background job or a cron job that fetches and checks that date. If it's set, then we could flip that feature flag. So this would be true for a while, and then we just set it programmatically to be false. We have a reference to a user, which is great. That's what we need. I'm wondering if we need the category reference here as well. We don't have a category model yet, though, so I might just hold off on categories for the moment. I just don't know that I need them. We'll just have an index of jobs. Maybe we can have tags or something. I'm thinking about that. For now, I'm going to leave it alone. We will need probably a price on this model as well. As I look at this, I'm thinking, well, we'll need to save that as a like charge in the database, so we have record of your charge. So maybe I'll start there. So integer, I'm going to use integer for that. And I like to sort these. Maybe I'll do descending. You might need like a headquarters of where this place is at, like your company. So let's see, headquarters. So I'm thinking if the role type's contract, we'll want to actually not do a range. We'll probably want to do like hourly. You know, maybe the option is there if it's a contract or freelance role. You could select it as a type of project, or yeah, compensation type we need to actually add. So I'm going to do that just so the person interested in applying would know, oh, is this hourly or is it salary or set project range, you know? So I think that's important to have. And then we need some sort of way to set hours too. So maybe estimated hours. Okay. So if the compensation type is hourly, we'll use this. If it's like salary or a range, we'll use this. Nice. I said before, when you're creating a new job, you probably need a way to flag what type you've created. So if it's the base job or if it's the more upselled version. So we could probably just say like upsell type. So we can set that when we create the job, we'll know which one the person created and are able to charge. Not even at that moment. I think Stripe you can charge programmatically, but at that moment we'll want to save that data so they have record of their past purchases and can manage that and their account. I'm going to say this is good to go for now. I almost certain we'll come back and change stuff, but that's okay. So I'll just migrate like normal. There we go. Annotated everything again. If we go back to our job model now, we should have a bunch of comments. Quite a bit of stuff going on, but we should be good to go there. I might add, since the job's all ready to roll, I might add our friendly ID stuff. We have it installed based on the gem that I included in the app, or the template, so we have friendly ID there. I might just go ahead and add that to the models so we can get everything rolling there. And then maybe consider some seed data. It takes some time to create, but it's well worth the time after you're always creating a new app or recycling a database or something. That's just kind of where you need to go. So I mentioned a scoping mechanism. Now that we have like a status, let's set some statuses up. So let's call it job statuses. And typically, it's a practice to use all caps on constants, so these won't change. They're just a way to reference this in the app later. So in the views, we can do something like job : job statuses, and just always have like a source of truth. So I love that model because it's just a nice way to have this file of like strings that you need just throughout the app. Let's see, we had pending by default, so maybe published using a hashed here to set this up. So we'll be able to basically, here, I'll show you, job status. We'll end up doing like pending like that, but it'll be job statuses like so. And that's how you can access that string there. Maybe we'll have an archived one, like a soft delete, you know, and then delete will just be delete. Like once it's gone, it's gone. And then a nice thing to do is freeze these. Essentially says, hey, this can't be modified if I were to try. I'm not going to try. But that's one thing to do. Okay, that's our statuses. We'll probably need to do some more constants that just lets us go further, but we'll get to that. I mentioned friendly ID. So friendly ID, if you read the docs, I've done it a handful of times now, but you need to include a module. So you extend friendly ID, and then you still need to do the method that is a friendly ID, and that will be title. And we'll use slugged. I already realized I need to add a slug to our database now. So I think I'm going to roll that back that we just did. Yeah. So we'll do that again. I need to add a slug migration. You know what? I'm just going to do it on its own. So Rails DB migrate. Might go check out the docs. I think there's an index you want to add as well. So friendly ID. Yeah, we need to add with a unique attribute. So that's the thing I don't want to mess up. So if I paste this in, I'm going to say add slug to jobs. And this is just creating a new migration. And I'll show you what that looks like. So adds a column to jobs that's called slug, and then it makes an index that ensures it's a unique attribute. So we won't really need to do that on the model there. We'll just have that set up to roll. So we could just say Rails DB migrate. Now you would need to do that for all your models that you want to have like friendly URLs. Like friendly ID is what that is. If you're not sure, it's a gem to help make your URLs actual strings or slugs that you would prefer as opposed to numbers. Just makes the app more friendly to share, like sharing a link. All right, so with that done, we can go and add one more method that I like to add. I think it's part of the app. I don't know that it's common knowledge maybe, but like when you update a title, I want to actually update the slug each time. I don't want it to just be set in stone once it's set. So to do that, you need like a method that is kind of a syntactical sugar. So it's called should generate new friendly ID, and we'll say if not slug. So slug didn't change, title changed, else false, and is that too many ends? Okay, so what this does, it sets up this slug attribute that's already on the model. Now we've got slug right there thanks to our migration. When that changes, or when you update your title specifically, since we set that as a symbol here, we'll use that slug value each time. But this method is responsible for when you do change that title, this will go ahead and say regenerate the slug. So it kind of does things at the same time. So we'll need that on all models that are going to be like public facing. I'm not going to worry about the user model. I don't think that's, well, actually I will probably worry about that. Should I do that now? Maybe I will. So I will actually ensure that's there. And what are we going to use for their slug though? Maybe their name, I guess. Yeah. It might make sense to have username on this app. Actually, I don't have it at the moment, but let's go and do the same practice over there. I'm just going to copy these, but change a few things. I've asked this before for more experienced Rails developers, and in the model, it seems like the Wild West of where to put things. And typically what I've gotten in response is it's just that way. But in the end, the worst thing you can do is just not try to organize some of it. So I group my stuff. So either it's the relationships, or it's the validations, or it's the gem stuff that you need to add, or at the end of the day, if it's alphabetical, that's the best way to go. I think it's just more scannable. That's just an aside. So we've got our user there. I'm going to copy this method here as well. And paste it below. So title is what needs to change, though. We don't have a title attribute on the model. So we can say name, I believe. Maybe we'll just say, it's interesting, we need to kind of do a method here that's going to say def slugged name. And we could say this. Maybe we'll just do it hard-coded. Something like that. I don't know if this is possible, though. It's not a database table, so it's interesting. I might try it just as name and see what happens. We'll run into that error when we get to it, maybe, but we'll try that. Migrations are pending, so let's roll that one in. We're going to get an error on the controller level. With friendly ID, it needs a new finder. So what that really means is we just need to scope it. So on jobs in particular, if we go down to find, we need to do friendly on these finders. So anytime you're finding a param like this, it's going to be important to have. I need to update our parameters here to include all the stuff we just added that wasn't. So I'm going to essentially copy this, but remove stuff we don't need. Let me go back over there. I might pretty this up. I think that my version of pretty anyway. A linter might disagree. I'm hitting Command D to do all that. It kind of finds similar stuff. We're going to add colons to those. Come over here. Delete as much as I can. A few of these I'll leave out because we really don't need to set them on this controller. What I'm going to do is have an admin namespace in the background, or in the back of the app, basically, that's going to open up more of these controls to the admin only. We'll get to that way later, but that's something nice to have anyway. We don't need the timestamps or the user ID. So let's do a little audit here. Let's see what's up. We've got our website, range, type, estimated hours, featured until. I'm not going to set this on the front end from the client side. We're going to set it as an admin and publish that. We don't need to worry about that here. Or the slug. Status, title, upsell type. We'll need those. We don't need status per se. There we go. Alright, my linter's bugging me enough to just revert what I was trying there. Mostly I wanted to get that organized. It's still giving me linter bullshit, but it's okay. Okay, so that essentially sets up our friendly ID construct. We'll worry about the user side of that later. We don't have a user controller, but we might. Probably will. Coming up, so I'll need to remember to do that. And my app should bark if I don't, so we'll see. One thing we could do, since these statuses are you know, kind of in this job range, it's going to get kind of annoying to always type that giant class thing. So I'm going to set some helper methods up. So we'll just say pending and we could just say self dot status equals job. We could say self here too, but I'm going to use the whole shebang there. Def dot published. I forget I have autocomplete on that every time. So there will be published. And we'll have one more for archived. All right, so with those in place, we can continue on. I think that should work for us for now in terms of getting some of this stuff set up. We're gonna have like, maybe we'll have hourly range. Maybe that will be an array. So we can just say like less than 10 hours, 10 to 30, 30 to 60, 60 to 90. I'm just thinking random here, 100 plus. I gotta turn this linter off. I will do that by the next video. It's annoying. Okay, so with that, we've got that set up, and what else do we need? Ranges, and I'll probably leave out the currency on these just so we can set that ourselves in the views and the methods we need, using some helpers there. So we'll start with maybe making it this like that default to low. Actually, probably want. I'm trying to think of what's a base salary for a Rails developer. Go in bigger increments, but I feel like people want to know, like, at least when I'm looking for a job, or if I had in the past, I really respect employers that just blatantly say, this is the salary. Like, I get that it's a combination of agreement between the employer and the employee to kind of figure the salary out, but more often than not, they already have, you know, a budget in mind. So it's just like, quit wasting my time, y'all. So, all right, almost there. I'm gonna go to like 230 or something. And I'll use a hash for this. We'll just say hourly. Maybe we'll say contract. And then full-time. Something like that, maybe. And I don't know why I made a hash. It should be array. And if we want to get technical, I'll put these in order. Compensation types, compensation ranges. We could extract this to its own little like utility class and include it. I'm going to leave it here for now just so it's in one place. All right, with that done, we're kind of rocking and rolling in terms of the data we'll need on the front end and just throughout the app. We might need some like upsell types coming up. I'll think about that, what those should be called. Like, think of like a SaaS app if you're doing like good, great, better, or like a car wash is what I'm thinking of, different tiers. So we'll figure that out. I think that's all I want to do for getting this stuff up. Home controller is where I'm thinking next to render the jobs that we should have. I also want to actually get some seeded data though, so I will do that since that's going to make our lives a lot easier. And what I'll do is create first a couple of user accounts that are going to make sense to us, I think, just as different user roles. I'll start with like a basic guest user and then a basic admin. So what I'll do first is say user equals user.new. With devise, we need to pass in a password. So we could say email I'll just use Andy at WebCrunch for this. Password, I'll make generic because it's just local. This is all test data, so not a big deal. Password confirmation. And we'll say password there. And this will be our admin user, so I'll say admin true. And I should probably rename this like admin. And I think I had confirmable set up on our account. So, yep. So we need to skip confirmation. So we could just say admin. Device has a nice built-in that's skip. Allows you to skip that step. And then we could just say admin.save. This creates all the admins. Before, what I like to do in a seed file is just say like delete everything before you run everything. So we'll just say delete all. There is a new command called replant, I think, for seeds. So it's not necessary that I really need to do that, I think, but it's one thing. A guest user, maybe we'll just call this like developer new. We'll say developer, we need to say developer false. Maybe I'll just be all the things. So true, employer, true. There we go. And we'll do the same stuff here. I'll probably just copy this, change a few things. Admin will be developer. And we'll change admin to false. We could just honestly remove that. It'll go default to that, but that's okay. And employer. Let's say developer at WebCrunch for the email. Employer. These don't need to be valid emails, but I'm making the password the same just so it's easy to remember. So here's our employer. Then we're going to set this to its own local employer. Okay. So later on, we'll figure out the employer side of the app. I think I'm going to focus on the developer side first. Well, I guess that's two parts because the employer is going to post the job, but the developer is going to like read the job. Let's first get our users created. We're going to create a few jobs. These are huge in terms of like the attributes. So I'm going to just kind of go with the flow here of our model. ID will be just like one. Just kind of start from the beginning. Company name, maybe Google. I don't know. Just making shit up. Now you can use like a faker gem for this stuff. I don't think the data here really needs too much of the generated data, but we'll see. Compensation range. I think we can access that. So job. Here's where that stuff makes a lot of sense. So if we go back to job, compensation ranges, I can't really access a set one really. It's more or less to loop through. So I'll just set one by default. Maybe right in the middle of the road. Okay, compensation type, we'll just say full-time. I need a comma. And estimated hours, we'll leave this nil since it's not contract. Featured, we'll say, maybe we'll feature one. What was the method? Is it like 1 week from today, Rails? One thing that sucks about DuckDuckGo is its Googling capabilities kind of suck. 1 week from now, beginning it. Yeah, that works, I guess. I guess we could do this one here. Stack Overflow. You know what I mean? Headquarters, let's say, I don't know, where the hell is Google? California, I'll just say. I don't know the city. They're all over the world though. Link to apply, let's just arbitrary, like apply. I don't know. Price, we'll have to set up what prices will be. Maybe we'll start with like, I don't know, the base price of $199. We'll call this one published. Remote will be false. We'll say it's on site. Role type. This was actually supposed to be used for something else, right? So full-time. Don't really need role type, do we? I might revert that for now. We'll set the status to this one to published. Slug will be, what are we going to call this? Rails. Something like that. And the title will be kind of the non-kebab case version of that. So Rails developer at Google. Upsell type. I don't really know yet. Maybe like nil for now. Years of experience, I need to add what those would be. Like maybe I'll leave created at and updated at to the database. So we could just say in this case admin.id, which will be hooking into this user. Forgetting a bunch of commas. Oops. Okay, another one there. And there. Years of experience. What should we do for that? So like, we'll just go up at 1, I guess. So years of experience. Probably put that one, since it's a Y, we'll put it way back here. Again, I'm basically determining this by alphabetical. So, all right. So with that said, we can go ahead and set this to, let's say 5. Okay. So we'll come back and figure out like the pricing and upsell stuff as we build the app more and figure that stuff out. But for now, that's one job. We can create maybe two or three more. You could be smart about this and just loop through everything, but I kind of want to just have like some sort of data, you know, that's realistic. I don't need to have like 40 jobs yet anyway. So let's say this one's like 200. Make sure that fits within our boundaries. Oh, you know what? I forgot one. So 200. Glad I checked. This might be all wrong anyway. So, okay. And full-time. Maybe we'll set this one. It's not realistic, but we'll set it to contract. We'll set this to nil actually. So then estimated hours will be what we actually hook up. So in this case, we'll go into, we'll just say 100. More than 100. I don't like to use mathematical symbols in strings because they could be misinterpreted and actually, you know, at some point do, like, I don't know, messed with. In Ruby especially, it's a pretty dynamic language. So this we won't feature, so false. And actually I'm going to not feature this one since it's not like, maybe I will feature this one and then we'll set the cost higher. So maybe it's like $2.99. I don't know, we add 100 to it. Remote can be true, and we'll say Ruby, and we'll set this one to like employer. Maybe it will have some arbitrary upsell type of like best, I don't know, more than 100 hours, Dropbox, California, again, arbitrary date, capitalize that. Okay, and then we'll do one more that's going to be another, basically the employer again, but we'll do, I just want a few variants. This will be back to like $1.99. We won't feature it, and we'll steal one of these. Apple has all the monies, so we'll pay all the monies. And this will be null, or nil in this case, for Ruby. Most of this is all going to be created in like an AJAX request on the front end. So it's one thing to think about. We can set this to nil as well. We don't need to feature it there or there. And remote will be false. Apple, and let's say like 10. We'll just leave that one alone for now. Okay, so with that done, we can go, and we need to create descriptions for these too. That's one thing I didn't think about. So we need description, company description. I think I added that column. And we could use maybe Faker for this. So Faker, I'm pretty sure I installed it. Yeah, Faker. If we go to the docs, I'll just get some like lorem ipsum. So Faker Gym. Maybe we'll just use hipster. And then we'll do just a paragraph. You could go fancy with that, but I mean, it's whatever. So that's pretty nice and gnarly to have in our stack. We just need to set that. And then I'll just copy. Yeah, so then we don't need this for sure. We user delete all, then we'll say job delete. So I'll run this and just see what happens. Probably receive some errors, but we'll see. Rails DB seed. Actually, I want to remove that one column that was the role type. I don't think I need it. And I want to do it before I get too deep in the weeds, just so I remember it. So let's do that quick. One more, I think. There we go. So I'll go back into that migration before and just get rid of role type for some clarity there. And then we'll just migrate down. Okay. Now we should have all that set up. We can attempt to run Rails DB seed and see if we get any bugs. I was going pretty fast. Yep. Admin change, name change. So that doesn't work for user, I figured out. So let's do, maybe we will forego friendly ID on the user for now. I think that's probably a wise decision. Maybe not. What can we do here? So like first name, if it's unique, it'll give it a hash, which is going to be ugly. So I don't really want to do that. I almost need to add a username in, but I don't want to do that either. I think I might forego friendly ID at the moment. It's going to save us some time. And I'll roll back that migration and delete it. So There was one I added for users. Yeah, add slug to user. I'm going to just basically delete that migration, and Rails will be like, okay, it never existed. So let's go do that. And then we'll just migrate back up. And it should be up to spec. And I want to ensure I don't have from the ID on the model. Yeah, we don't. Okay, so if I just try that seed again. Hey, it worked. Okay. If nothing barks back, it should have worked. So if we just do a Rails generate, a Rails server, I think it's running. It is running. So I don't have role type because we scaffold that, but I can go throw that out of the views very quickly. We're going to edit this all way better coming up and not look like garbage. So I'm going to get rid of everything I don't need here, though. I have to come back and modify this file. Save it down. We don't need a user ID here. Just okay. So there's like ugly UI, but it is working. So if we go to the show path, here's the actual show. We'll get the UI in way better shape coming up. But you notice the job has a nice slug now. I think we're good to go. So I need to not use a plural for that. So if we go to index home, go. Cool. So if we go back down to that view real quick, I'll just loop through the jobs just to show. Just render out like job.title and link to it. You could just say like job path, job. So we got them all there. We can maybe format them slightly. There we go. And it links right to the show view. So cool. I think our homepage will be like I showed in the very beginning, something like this. It's going to be like a feed where we could view more of both the developers and jobs. I think with focus on the jobs, but we'll see how that pans out. I think it's going to be dictated by if people visit the app and want more of the other. But we could start with maybe a mix. And we don't. I didn't do the attached image in the seeds. We could do something like that, but it's kind of pain in the ass. So I might just forego doing that. But you could just as easily seed it and go to town there. So right now we can view the jobs. We can't go and edit it though. So if I do this, I need to sign in so we can make sure. Since we generated our new users, we can say a password for a password. We should be able to set it. Here's my stuff to edit it. This is the actual form, although you can barely see it, but it's working, so that's good. I can edit my account. I'm using, these were set in our seeds, so if you recall in our seeds, my first account, which is mine, I have both flags true, so that's cool. Cool. So it's been about an hour now, so I'm gonna kind of call this a good session. Coming up, I'm probably gonna take a look at getting these views in better shape just because they're annoying me, and I will kind of circle back and reaffirm our data, so like our descriptions and whatnot, and maybe get some attachments in the seeded data if we want to. I don't know. But then go from there. So I think once the views are kind of intact, I could, start writing tests right away. And I think people say you should do that. But I kind of like to get the app in a state where I'm like, okay, I can put this part down. Then I can go write the tests, So I'm going to get it to there and then go forward. So like I said, I'm going to work on the views next and then kind of get the new job form going. I don't want to use Rails for that, particularly because multi-step in Rails is pretty hard. So the view app will be taking the bulk of the work there. It's going to be very API driven. So it's going to be like a lot of Ajax and stuff going on. So that part sucks, but it's going to make the experience a lot nicer. So I'll do that part and more coming up next. If you're following along, thanks for doing that. I'll try to get more and more out as I can, but the goal here is just to show pretty much every step of the way. So I'll see you in the next one. Hello Rails is my new course on Ruby on Rails. I'll teach you Ruby on Rails from the ground up. Visit hellorails.io for more information.